the Depositors Union and how did it start, and what can we do in the next few years to release our deposits. So I'm going to share. I just developed a little presentation, and I think it would be helpful. So basically, I'm going to start with a brief description of what happened, because we can't move forward without moving backward, without understanding how did we end up here, without basically entering into the political economy of the country. In many ways, for a long period of time, I think the Lebanese were completely, out of politics, I would say. Politics was just an elite thing where you do it in closed chambers and you produce it in the media. It's really one of the few times that the Lebanese have to now deal with the real essence of politics, which is how to run our business, how to run our society, basically. And I don't want to say it's too late, but it's too late in a sense that we've lost a lot. Now that the Ponzi scheme has completely fell apart, it would have been nice if we could have seen this for 10 years from now, 10 years ago. So I'm going to just briefly, this is a research you can see at our website, thinktriangle.net. We made it at the beginning of the crisis. And you can see this infographic shows basically how the whole Ponzi scheme came about. In a sense, you have a state that basically spends about $2 billion a year on the electricity company, 3.5% of GDP. This is a big, lucrative, سرقة موصوفة. You're basically funneling money into the Lebanese politicians' pockets. It started with the Syrian occupation in a sense of at that time Hbai'a. They needed to float him, and they gave him the ability to basically steal from the electricity company. Every minister that came after him thought, wow, this is a great source of money, of quick cash. You can see that the government takes 8.5 billion a year in taxes, spends 2 billion on electricity, and then look at that. It sends $5.6 billion a year, which is half of its revenues, on interest on the public debt. So you can imagine what's going on for years. This is 2018. This is a snapshot of just before the crisis. So you basically have an unsustainable public debt. And the commercial banks were really you look at the profits of the commercial banks since 1990, they were skyrocketing. So you're speaking about basically a compounded, cartel between the politicians and the banks and the Banque du Liban. At the same time, you see that the BDL liabilities to commercial banks, basically the central bank was basically giving all these financial engineering for years. Basically, mostly you can see that it started in 2016 and just went up. And this is because the financial, the system could not sustain itself if you, as for example, Lebanese abroad, didn't send your money to Lebanon. The state could not basically sponsor this Ponzi scheme, because hot money is coming from the Gulf, it's coming from you. It comes to the Lebanese banks. The Lebanese banks buys the debt. The debt is spent on dysfunctional electricity de Liban and sponsoring and an inefficient bureaucracy. You've got like $6.4 billion spent on personnel. So basically, it's a rent economy. A rent economy that is based on the flow of hot money from abroad, sustained by a media that says that the Lebanese banking sector is too big to fail. And now it failed. And so when we ask where is our money is basically stolen by the corrupt political class, which sustained itself through these rent flows to its constituencies. So your, I don't know, like your aunt, which is working in the معلمة مدرسة بتقبض I don't know, like maybe 7 million lira بهداك الوقت يعني $5,000. Imagine that in Lebanon you've got a bloated education sector. Every 9 kids have 1 teacher, compared to 25 kids for 1 teacher as an international standard. All of this comes falling apart. So now the question is that it fell is what to do next. So there are 2 arguments, right? People argue, well, it's not our problem as depositors if the banks did this whole scheme. We need all of our money back. Then there are others who are saying, so this argument would say, let the state sell its assets and bail the banks after it bailed them with all these financial engineering and give us our money back. Of course, there's another argument that says, okay, we need to first and foremost understand the composition of the depositors to understand who's going to bear the brunt of this financial crisis. Yeah, and if you look at all the crises in Greece and in Argentina and in Venezuela, I mean, there are basics in how we deal with financial crises. In Lebanon, I'm just gonna, you can see this this graph. It shows you the composition of the depositors. So you have like 0.8%, which is 24,421 depositors. They own 51.8% of the deposits. The rest, under $1 million, basically, the rest of the depositors, imagine the composition would be like they're basically 99%. So imagine the mass majority of the depositors basically own less than half of the value of the deposits. And this is crucial in our understanding of the crisis, because it's crucial in understanding how we want the division of costs and how the government currently is trying its best to save this 0.8%, and these 24,000 depositors, which are what? Are the political class with their cronies, in addition to probably like really affluent money laundering tycoons. These are the ones that are being saved on the backs of the mass majority of the depositors. In that sense, as a depositors union, we say we actually try to represent everyone that is outside this 0.8%, meaning that we try our best to represent even people who have $1 million in their bank account. That's the second piece of information. The third piece of information is this is a snapshot from a report by Mary Lynch that was released in October 2019, basically a few days after the financial crisis. And it speaks about the different scenarios of what happens on a macroeconomic level. It's a big report, of course. There were many reports like this. You can also choose other reports. There's been many economists, for example, even a couple of Lebanese economists who did regressions like that. They did their homework. It's pretty much like, okay, at that time, the difference was about what, 5%, 6%, but more or less everybody understood that these are lots of numbers. So I'm just gonna show you, if you can see my mouse, it's here, like the deposit bail-in, that at some point we have to pay the price. So you see in Mary Lynch that if it's only high net worth individuals, meaning the 1%, they would pay a soft IMF program 38% of their deposits, meaning that the 1% has to pay about 40% of the value of their deposits to save everybody. Or everybody pays about 19.3% of the deposits. So let's face it, as depositors, we're not gonna get the full amount of money. Everybody, like Greece, everybody has, we have to share the cost. Because we don't wanna have a populist position whereby we say, no, we wanna have, let's face it, we're not going to get it back, all of it. But what the government is trying to do now is even worse, because if you see there's a disorderly scenario here, the disorderly devaluation, which is what is going on right now, you see that like the depositors will pay up to 60%, like 56%, according to this scenario. Maybe the numbers have changed now. But generally speaking, now if you sell your deposit in the black market, you will lose 70% of its value, meaning that already we have an informal haircut on our deposits, basically of around 70%. That's what the government solution is right now. The government solution is based on a triple exchange rates, where they basically funnel money back into the pockets of the 1% on our backs. And this is done by sabotaging every possibility of fixing this financial crisis or fixing the solution. So this is the situation, like in a nutshell. The question is, what next? What do we do as small deposits? I mean, I personally lost 10 years of my savings, basically everything that I've worked for. I think most of you have as well. The question is, what should be our position? So we have after lots of debates, of course, we have like 5 principles, let's say, in the رابطة المودعين. We say العدالة في توزيع التكاليف. Like, we need justice in dividing cost, meaning that it's not fair that the 1% or 0.8% that owns half of the deposit's value, that they have really benefited a lot from 15%, sometimes 10% on the dollar interest rate. They have to pay what they've benefited. So it's not fair that we all pay the same, which is what's going on right now. If you have $1,000, it's like you have 1 million. We're all doing this informal haircut. So first, we need justice in how we distribute cost. The second principle is حتمية إعادة هيكلة الدين. Basically, the inevitability of a complete haircut of the debt, meaning of the government's debt. Economists say that probably about 60 to 70% of the unsustainable debt has to be haircut. Why? Because if we do that, this means, yes, the majority of the banks today will go bankrupt. But then the government has enough money to recapitalize 4 or 5 banks, and out of that, kickstart basically the economy. Because the major issue right now why we can't get our deposits back is because we can't figure out as Lebanese how to grow our economy, how to bring fresh cash from abroad. And of course, the government hasn't invested in any infrastructure for the past 30 years. So we're in a bind. We can't bring more money from abroad, so we can't give the deposits their money. So we have to really like free ourselves. And in that sense, we have to basically, unfortunately, about 20 banks have to go bankrupt, if not more. This is what they don't want, because this means restructuring the Lebanese economy and actually messing with the bases, the power bases of the oligarchs in Lebanon, who basically own the 24,000 bank accounts. The third principle of the Depositors Union is shumuli, or basically a comprehensive solution. يعني كل هيدا الحكي اللي عم يعملوا هلا رياض سلامي, like triple exchange rates, تعميم من هون تعميم من هونيك, is bullshit basically. We need a comprehensive solution. We need the Prime Minister to go on TV and say this is the solution, and do like concrete steps. And part of the plan is we need to see what's going on in the central bank, which means back to تحقيق الجنائي. We need a forensic audit, and that goes to شفافية. Basically, we need to open the whole Lebanese government for scrutiny by all the depositors. And the fifth principle, of course, is accountability. After we do that, we need to hold people accountable. These 5 principles, you know, none of them is going on right now. We're losing on every front. I mean, let's face it. This is the reality, you know, because they've been sabotaging. And to be frank, I mean, Hassan Diab, he's a complete tool, you know. But the first government plan, which they sabotaged, which basically the power class sabotaged, was actually approaching somehow a normal solution, like any country in the world would do. What if you employ a consultant from the World Bank, this is what they tell you. You know, let's open up the sheets and let's see what goes on. Standard. There's standard protocols for this. We're not doing it. So this is our position. Now comes the issue of, well, how to get to this vision. So when we started in October 17, basically, and because we understood that now the real issue is the depositors' money. This is where all the battles for the next few years is gonna be. And it came from all these discussions in Sahat al-Shuhada and the Martyrs Square, where the Lebanese were discussing basically what to do next. So what we did was we did a Lajna al-Qanuniyya. There's a legal committee in the Depositors Union. Then we have the public policy and لجنة اقتصادية والسياسات العامة. Then we had the media, then the direct actions and the financial committee. We have a hotline. We you know, you can always call the رابطة المودعين. There will always be some lawyer who can help you. So we give lots of استشارات قانونية. بنبعت رسائل إنذار، بنقدم دعاوي. يعني نحن بهالشهرين مقدمين 200 دعوة مثلا. معظمهم على فكرة طلاب، لأنه كتير عالم they're afraid، بخافوا إنه يقدموا دعوة ضد البنك، لأنه بخافوا انه يبعثوا لهم اياها كشيك بنكير وهالموضوع. بس هو اهم شيء كمان انه نحن بنعمل يعني مساءلات للنواب. يعني كان في عندنا مثلا لقاء مع ابراهيم كنعان، قدمنا له مساءله من 19 سؤال. So basically نحن we're preparing the files لرابطة المودعين, preparing a negotiation position, because in this whole negotiation, if you see it, it's just the state versus the banks at the beginning. They fought it together. Then basically the state, the parliamentarian blocks, all of them, كلهم يعني كلهم, they all sold us basically. And now the plan that is being enforced is the bank's plan, which means, imagine after they robbed us, they're going to rob us the 4th time, because اللي عم بيصير is another bailout for the same banks that failed to do anything. I mean, when you're a bank that you're investing in public debt, you know, imagine you get if I'm a German bank, I invest in a Lebanese bank, I get 15% on the dollar, I give 1% to my يعني المصرياتنا كانوا عم بيروحوا كمان على أوروبا basically. It's a whole scheme of financial fraud. I mean, that's what happened. أكيد بالاغتراب عنا we have like we have groups we're in dialogue with to actually basically maybe eventually do a BDS movement abroad and open نرفع دعاوي ضد البنوك برا. أكيد في كتير فيديوهات بنعملها من ناحية awareness raising. We have like media presence. We're always in the media, and I'm glad like after 1 year we have certain presence. So it's mild compared to where we should be, but it's there in a sense that more and more people know Rabta as you know, that there's a different opinion out there. وعلى فكرة يعني تم المحاربة الرابطة by creating other مثلا groups that have different position towards the financial crisis, saying let's bail the banks out. And we've sent tons of course like بيانات للمصارف وللبنك المركزي So we're always present every time the central bank sends some ta'meen, we're there. Hala, the next steps that we thought about for how to get basically our money back is, let's face it, we need to create pressure on our government. So we started by the ائتلاف قطاعات اقتصادية واجتماعية, which is basically released a position paper, جمعية المستهلك, جمعية حماية المكلفين, رابطة المودعين, شبكة مدى, and I mean, I can talk about this maybe after the questions. Basically, we're building a coalition with other members of the Lebanese society. The problem, of course, in Lebanon هي إنه نحن ما في عنا نقابات. We're unorganized. You look at Tunis, you have some bases leverage over the government because you're organized according to sectors. In Lebanon, that's not the case. The political parties have taken the representation of every syndicate, of every student council. This is, of course, is being done slowly. So you see that we're taking the student councils, for example, the independent movement. We have allies as well in like مثلا نائبة المحامين اللي على تواصل معنا احنا. في عندنا تواصل مع كذا نائب اللي عم تتحرر من سلطة السياسيين basically. This position paper is basically ائتلاف بيحدد موقف الرابطة from everything. Not just the depositors' money, but also like the financial issues. How is this financial crisis, the restructuring that we need in the economy? Because we also need to protect the poor people. We need to also protect the productive sectors, the industrialists. We need a new deal for Lebanon, basically. So this position paper is the beginning of that dialogue going on. And this was done last year, like in September. Now, where we failed, I mean, we failed basically in getting a real decision from the Lebanese judiciary. We failed in basically, releasing the depositors. We failed in actually getting a real government plan that is fair and just. We failed, and the revolution failed. October 17 movement failed to do that. But what we managed to do is we helped lots of borrowers. We managed to free some money for like Lebanese living abroad. We squeezed the political class. We cornered it in some instances. Okay, we made the banks like pay we like for example, if you want to pay a loan in Lebanese, we can do that. But we still failed to do the most important thing, is إلزام المصارف على سداد ودائع المودعين بالعملات الأجنبية. And we failed to actually hold the banks accountable. And this is really because basically we don't have an independent judiciary in Lebanon. Basically, the judges are afraid to take a decision because they are not covered politically. Because whoever rules Lebanon are a bunch of militias, let's face it. So we're in a bind, basically. At the same time, in النيابة العامة, like a public prosecutor doesn't do their job. There is a whole coalition, a cartel between the banks, the السلطة السياسية, and the judges, and of course the central bank. So in a sense, that's why, and I don't want this to be a depressing point. This is the reality. The question is how to change this reality. So we have to be very clear that next steps forward is how to organize in a way that basically we create some kind of wedge somewhere. And this can be done through, this is the last slide, institutionalization. Next year for us in the رابطة المودعين is a year of institutionalization, meaning that the رابطة needs to be basically a real democratic institution, completely transparent. We need to have an elections, and we need to be like a broader grassroots movement. Currently, we have about maybe 19,000, 20,000 depositors with us. We need to expand this logistically, meaning we need to have about 15 full-time members who are working night and day on literally mobilizing people to basically become a real political force in Lebanon. We need to be funded. We all volunteers. We work after 6. After we come from work, we work on this. So we need real funding strategy. And this means not just getting money from the depositors, but maybe even getting money from independent sources of funding. At this point, we need to have this debate. How are we going to make this sustainable? The fourth issue is the BDS movement. We've already prepared files to do a BDS movement abroad, meaning that we need to like in the same way the Lebanese parliamentarians cannot go eat in restaurants in Beirut, they should not be able to travel abroad. We should really work with our allies in Europe and the United States to build that file. We need to lobby the Congress. We need to lobby we need to be in Germany. We need to be in France and London. We need to cut the sources of funding for the political class. Already, this is happening, by the way. I mean, you see, after the Beirut blast, they couldn't get assistance from abroad. We need to use this and leverage it, basically, to create a BDS movement. Then in Lebanon, we need to convince our members, the depositors, who probably voted for, I don't know, the Uwait or Birri or Hezbollah or whatever. We need to use them so that they start pressuring their MPs, meaning going to their house. We can do that as Depositors Union. Maybe some members of the Al-Hirak, they don't want to meet politicians, but we can, because at the end of the day, these parliamentarians, they're responsible. They're the ones who are stopping a capital control law. They're stopping a public audit. They're stopping the transparency. They're stopping a real just solution. The last point is an active diplomacy, meaning we need to pressure all the allies of Lebanon abroad to actually enforce some kind of a just solution for the financial crisis. I will stop here. This is, I'm just going to keep that. You can always call the hotline of the Lajnat al-Muhameen. And this is a link. I will send it to the group if you would like to join. One final note, we're looking for volunteers. We're happy to have you with us. If you have money in the Lebanese banks, even if you're not Lebanese, please join us. Let's build the Rabta with you. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nizar. Very interesting. I am going to Rania Jurdi. You had 2 questions. You want to unmute and ask? Okay. So Rania asked 2 questions. So who are the groups in the diaspora, Bil-Ikhtirab, you are working with? And she also asked, how can the customers or Mudi'een join or sign up to join the coalition? I guess you just answered that. So who are the groups in the diaspora, Bil-Ikhtirab, that you're working with?
I mean, we work with, for example, a group of economists based in Europe who work with financial institutions, and they were interested to help. So we were in touch with them. At the same time, there are other groups like in Qatar and the Gulf, activists who basically we're building WhatsApp groups with them. And this is just asking for support. I can give you more information because I don't hold the file of the صراحة التنظيم الداخلي. But I can refer you to someone who, if you'd like to join these groups, I can definitely refer you to somebody, to Tariq, basically, who's taking care of that. But the idea is that we need to expand it. So, for example, in the States, wherever you are, we need more help. And we need more full-timers. to just expand the process of recruitment. Yeah, if we're going to build a movement, we need to be everywhere because, and there are lots of things to work to work on. Just the legal file abroad and the BDS it needs so much work, and we're basically understaffed, and and I think we need also dialogue on how to make the structure work, while at the same time, like being flexible and democratic, but at the same time efficient. Because the problem is we're facing really like tough, opponents. We have to be always on our feet, fighting in the media, and have a legal file. So we need more structure. This is happening, but we need more help.
Thank you, Nizar. Thank you, everyone, for this informative session. And Nizar, your information is very valuable, and we all abroad just reaching and hoping that organization like yours or many other organizations that are fighting for our right. من المصاري للصحة للطباب لكل شيء. So we're hoping with more people like you engaging everybody, Lebanon and abroad, we get somewhere. It takes professional, and it takes a lot of hours of volunteering, and what you guys are doing, and through Haned and Zahi and everyone doing their part as much as we can. So Yatikum Alf Afi, and please, I would like more information if you share it with the group, and later on if Hind and Zahi can share with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm gonna send the actually here the form for everybody. 1 second. Do I just, yes, here. I mean, we're building basically. We were supposed to have. We took a little fund from FES, Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, the Social Democrats, basically think tank in Germany, to actually do a strategic kind of workshop this month. But now there's a lockdown. The idea is that we need to organize most of the files. Already we have, like, for example, what I'm responsible for, which is the research section and economic policy. It's already like producing things, and this gave us a little bit of fuel to basically. Right now, we're doing a whole research about all the parliamentary blocks, their positions, so that we have ammunition for media battles against them. Meaning that when politicians in Lebanon say that they can't do anything, well, you can, but you didn't, and this is the proof. So we need, more of that kind of like issue-based, political positions. So this is what we're building on that front. And the second part, which is basically the organization itself, meaning how to make it work. We're speaking about thousands and millions of people. So there needs to be a way whereby the structure is open. Yeah. I can send you more information as well about the public positions. I'm not sure if I can attach a document here. How do you want to do this? Do you want me to send it later? Like, there's a couple of position papers that I think would be interesting for people to see, which is, just to give you an example, I'm going to share the screen again. Right, like, for example, this is the one I was telling you about, the Coalition of Economic and Social Sectors in Lebanon, where we basically made like the monetary banking solutions, what we need exactly, the public finance solutions, what we need to restructure the public finances, the productive sector solutions, because we cannot basically get away of this crisis without creating productive sectors again, meaning that Lebanon needs to diversify its economy. and then the social safety nets, which is how to deal with really, according to the IMF, we're going to be at 50%, if not 60% poverty rate by end of this year. And then it's liberating our economy from monopolies, because we cannot have a solution without having a political and economic solution in Lebanon, meaning we need to open our economy. And this means destroying the monopolies and destroying the political class that feeds from these monopolies. And this is hard for the Lebanese, they have to let go of the Baba and the father figure. And this is the signatories for that time. I think soon you can also enter into the coalition main page, which we helped build. Okay.
I think, Nizar, if you want to share them with me, and then I can share them with the group. I have a list of emails that registered for this webinar, and then I can send it to them.
That's perfect.
I also see that you did share the link also. I'm also going to copy that, put note in it, and then share it on all our platforms.
Okay, and I'm gonna I will send the position paper nonetheless, and another document about like questions that we've already asked for parliamentarians, which I think would be useful, because what is important is that basically the Lebanese are, they basically know their rights and know what's going on.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I actually have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel? How do you envision that this conversation with the government to build this portfolio or build your topics? How do you envision this going forward if they are the ones that are protecting their own interests? So I'll give a small example. When they refused to pay the Eurobonds and they wanted to restructure Dan and talk to al-Madjunin or al-Daynin minhum, they didn't actually do that. So what makes you think that they are going to come to the table and negotiate that, even with Rabt al-Mudi'in? Like,
okay. I'll give you an example of why pressure works. So at some point, I'm just going to give you a success story. Like Ibrahim Kanaan, for example, he's the head of the Lajnat al-Muwazani. He made a public statement. I mean, he's trying to be. There's, for example, he's fighting with Gibran Bassil. There's internal fights. As any bloc. But just the fact that we put in the media a really like scathing position against his position. He felt it because he also has constituency that is Depositors. So is with all the political blocs in Lebanon. So this is a sensitive issue because all of a sudden, for the first time in history, it's cross-cutting. You go to Tripoli, you go to Sur, you go to Baalbek, you go to Psharri. Everybody has the same problem. They took the savings of the whole Lebanese population. Right? It's billions of dollars. And so all of a sudden, the parliamentarians are in a bind. I mean, they can't walk in the streets because people are spitting on them. At the same time, they're trying their best, they're trying their best to fix it in a way that the people don't feel the brunt of this. And they were trying, for example, to use money from abroad to build like social safety net, like as usual, change it or make for example, a civil war or something. So anyway, we did this position. He called us because he was afraid. Because all of a sudden we were getting traction on a popular level. Like we're being asked to go to, I don't know, like Untitled, Bkfaya, we're going to Sur, Tripoli giving talks, basically building a grassroots movement. So then they have to deal with us because let's face it, the whole problem of all the Hirak for the past, since 2015 basically, was always talking to the media without organizing truly downward. And so what they do is they push you in the media, you become a bubble, then you have nothing to offer because you have no power on the ground. So what I'm saying is it's not going to be easy, but it's incrementally being built. And in a sense, if you look at the popular movement in 2015 versus now, it's way more organized now. I mean, it's not organized enough to topple them and to enforce a new political deal, but it's stronger. It's strong enough that the political class is looking at stopping the elections of the syndicates because they know if they do if the lockdowns is over and they do another elections in the syndicates, we're going to get the syndicates. And if we get the syndicates, we get the ability to shut down the country. And this is how the political class understands. It doesn't understand it's not a technical solution. I mean, they're sons of bitches. Yeah. They are in bed with the bankers and they have no interest in giving the money up. I mean, let's face it. So we need to enforce in power play and in power politics a solution. Yeah, and we need to shut down the country and civil disobedience. To get to that point, we need to build leverage. That takes time, and it takes lots of hard work. So nothing is guaranteed, I would say, but we have nothing to lose. And the thing is, what they're going to be trying to do now is that with these double and triple exchange rates, is they're going to make you spend all the money with 70% haircut. Imagine if you have like, I don't know, $100,000 in the bank, and then you buy a car for $30,000, you've just taken 70% liability off the balance sheet. And so in 5 years, the banks will be done, will be healthy again. And they would have just cut the debt on like from our savings. And if you go to the bank, they say to you, we didn't push you to buy this car. You did it yourself. And you didn't file a lawsuit. You tell them, yeah, but like none of the judges accepts. He's like, yeah, but you didn't file a lawsuit. So basically they're playing a game with us, which the game is that we will lose patience. That is the game. تعطيل يعني على الطريقة اللبنانية. And you open multiple files and you let it fester to an extent that you're like, there is no solution. So you basically get out. You say, like, get out with the least losses. And then a few years later, they say, well, there's no bankruptcy. The banks aren't bankrupt. And they get away with it again, because there's some political solution and a few $1 billion comes from the Gulf, and then they make the economy work again.
And you'll need to put pressure on the judicial system as well, because you need them, because they're also feeling the pressure, because their money's also tied up. I would assume judges have their money tied up. So would that move them to يحكموا لصالح المودعين?
I think that we need, for example, to have a serious talk with مثلا نقابة المحامين. يعني how to seriously challenge المدعي العام المالي بلبنان, how to seriously challenge judges, and this means even demonstrations. يعني we need to target the certain key it's not just مجلس النواب يعني, you know, we need to target the keys of power. Judges are one of them, and that's why I would say like a BDS movement should be very good. Like Gibran Basir, for example, was really afraid when they put his name on a sanction list. Can you imagine if we're doing diplomacy and we're going to politicians all over the world saying, we want all of these politicians to be part of a sanction list? And you know, we do like these advocacy groups. You know, you have, for each party, you have its own advocacy group. Yani Birri would not listen from me, but he would listen from people in Nabatiyi. You know, like it's and this has to happen on a grassroots level. But this takes lots of time, because it takes that how I'm talking to you now. We need to talk to every depositor, meaning we have to, like, you know, it's similar to what Bernie Sanders is doing in America, and it's really hard work. Lebanese aren't used to this, to actually do politics, to be engaged in politics. Engaged in politics is just a populist cheering of a you know, football game, instead of actually being in the process of politics, you know.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna give Freddie, go ahead. Thank you, Nizar.
Hello, thank you, Nizar, على البرزنتيشن كتير informative. كان عندي سؤالين أنا إذا بتسمح.
تفضل.
حضرتك استعملت تيبل بتفرجك ال possible solutions منها عبر ال IMF. أنت بتشوف في طريق عادلة أو في طريق منيحة نقطع فيها يكون في ديل مع ال IMF ولا بتعارض ال IMF بشكل كلي؟ والتاني السؤال، لاحظت انه في 2 جروبس لرابطة المودعين، يمكن في وحدة تانية ما بعرف اذا دان عزة هو عملها ولا هو عضو فيها. جربتوا تتواصلوا مع تاني جروب ولا هل تاني جروب مثلا بعدين بمثل طروحات غير طروحاتكم؟ يعني في فرق بين يلي انتم عم تطلبوه يلي يمكن دان والجروب تبعه عم تطلبوه؟ Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Yes, interesting questions. So regarding the IMF, I mean, the unfortunate reality is the Lebanese banks need recapitalization. So we don't have many options. Yeah, either somebody abroad is gonna, so we get the problem is our political class spent Paris 1, Paris 2, Paris 3, and Sadr to line their pockets. Instead of using this money to actually do something, we've used already all of our cards to to basically bail the banks in 2016. So Hala, the question is, we need some form of credibility in the market. I'm not completely opposed to an IMF deal, but what IMF deal? Like what kind of IMF deal is like the question is not in absolute. The question is really in the details. What kind of IMF deal and what does this mean? So actually, we've written in triangle what a just IMF deal would look like. You can find it actually on our website. I can send it here as well. So I'm not opposed to the IMF deal in principle. We have to look at the details again. The problem for me is that, for example, if we did this solution in March 2020, we wouldn't be needing an IMF deal. If we did the right thing then, as we move along with this unsustainable path, I mean, I don't know what the political class is betting on, but we're going to get to hunger. We're using our money to buy fuel, and it's unsustainable. So another thing is we don't know exactly right now because we don't have the numbers, and this is the amazing part. Economists in Lebanon don't have a real picture because everything we have is what Riyad Salami gave us. We don't have real transparency to know the numbers. And when this means to know the balance sheet of the central bank, the balance sheet of the banks and the government, we have no idea what's going on. That's why we say that the transparency, there's an Excel sheet, and this is part of the advocacy. We need to know, we need to have a forensic audit of the central bank because we need to know where the money went. And this means, of course, opening Pandora's box, a complete transformation of the Lebanese financial system, because obviously we've been money laundering in Lebanon. There's probably like hundreds of Russian tycoons who's like, تعرف شو في بالبنك اللبناني يعني إيران و drug dealers بأفريقيا و Latin America. We need to do that. So it's a radical change. The second point is about the المودعين. So the thing is, we've been in contact with Jama'at al-Mudi'in. We've been in contact with many groups that, mushroomed at some point. We have a problem with Jama'at al-Mudi'in is their position. Their position is basically with the banks. I mean, imagine their position is let the government sell its assets and bail the banks again, instead of some kind of a just solution where some of the banks have to really pay so they're asking basically again for a bailout, which is literally the position of the political class. So we could not go with them, and we made like appeals. I would say tens of talks with them. The good news is there was a discussion a week ago. It seems that they're starting to change their opinion, particularly because we've been publishing a lot. Like we've been really engaging intellectually with these issues. So now there might be actually a joint move, a joint demonstration soon, which is good news. we're still waiting to see if they agree with us on on a blueprint. In the same way we have this document, we're happy to actually merge together, and we want that because we want to have one solid basis, democratic, open, transparent. The idea is not about egos and who goes on media. It doesn't matter anymore. Like we need to just build power for the depositors, and that is our position, frankly. So we're working on it. That's my
في عندي follow up question.
Yes.
مين اللي عم بيمنع نوصل للمعلومات ب-BDL؟ هل هو طبعا شخصيا رياض سلامي والفريق تبعه، مع انه في قانون مرق بمجلس النواب بيضمن حق الوصول على المعلومات، ما فينا نوصل لهالمعلومات عبر هالقانون ولا او في كمان تكتلات سياسيه عم تمنع اكشلي نوصل لهالمعلومات؟
لا، في اكشلي قوانين، لانه اقول لك اي القانون. في قانون بيسكلي لايك السنترال بانك، اذا بتشوف الرسائل بينه وبين الفاريز الكومباني that was supposedly tasked with the forensic audit، بتشوف انه هن مغطين حالهم. يعني السنترال بانك doesn't have to respond to certain questions because this is considered like تحت السرية المصرفية. So basically we need to undo السرية المصرفية بالبلاد. هيدا ضروري. وبهالسبب كل الكتل النيابيه حاليا اللي بتحكي انه عن بيضحكوني عن انه شو الفورنزيك اوديت، يعني عن
تدقيق الجنائي.
التدقيق الجنائي. يعني this is bullshit. Alvarez already the company is not tasked with يعني هني ما بيعملوا forensic audit، ما بيعملوا تدقيق جنائي. كرول كانت بتعمل تدقيق جنائي، فخوها لكرول وبعدين جابوا الفاريز، ما اعطوها، ما عملوا لجنه المال والموازنه، ما عدت الليجل ستاف، يعني القوانين اللي لازم تنعمل بالبرلمان كرمال يصير في تدقيق جنائي. وبعدين اعطتها للازار، مش لازار، لالفاريز، وبيسكلي فخختها. سو فخخوا. imagine how evil they are. مش يعني ما بدهم حتى شركه ما بتعمل تدقيق جنائي، بتعمل تدقيق الفورنزيك له اصوله، يعني بدك يكون شيء معترف فيه دوليا. ففخخوه، يعني فخخوه مرتين which shows that they're not serious. ونحن طرحنا على فكره الاسئله طرحناها على ابراهيم كنعان، كانت هيدا السؤال اللي هو كيف فيك تقول انه عم تحكي عن تدقيق جنائي وما في قوانين لازمه.
اوكي ثانك يو.
بقانون النقد والتسليف في كتير ارتكلز بتمنع البنك المركزي من to divulge secrets of their actions، وخاصه يعني موظفي مصرف لبنان. So this is crucial actually. تاني شغله مثلا في عندك انه انحياز كبير. وزير الماليه يعني هلا باللي انعملت عن شركه الفاريز ومرسال، وزير الماليه هو نفسه بيترأس اللجنه المخوله انه تفوض الشركه، وبيحط بعضويتها رئيس دائره المناقصات بالتفتيش المركزي القاضي جان العليه، ورئيس هيئه التشريع والاستشارات بوزاره العدل جوال فواز، وبعدين مستشار من وزاره الماليه محمد جزيني. يعني قسموا اللجنه المخوله تعمل التدقيق الجنائي بين الفرقاء السياسيين. يعني ما في مصداقيه نهائيا بالتحقيق، مش واحد بيعمل تحقيق بحاله، لانه هن خايفين، ما هن عارفين شو عاملين، عارفين انه في مليارات فالة على سويسرا يا جماعه. يعني they really robbed us blind. وعم تحكي انت this is a really watershed moment عن جنب لبنان، لانه for the first time all these babas، يعني let's face it، نحن we're very have a patriarchal culture. we look at يعني جنبلاط وبري وعون والحكيم هو كلهم they're father figures. We think of themselves as these protective entities, semi-gods from you know all of a sudden we discover no, yeah, they're basically took the money and they're probably like in Swiss bank accounts. So if we find out what's going on, we find out the level of robbery that is going on.
Thank you.
Perfect. أمير مغربي بدك تسأل أنت السؤال ولا بقرأ من ال questions and answers؟
أنا في أسأل نزار ثانك يو على البرزنتيشن. السؤال إذا بده ينرفع دعوة على مصرف لبنان بالخارج، يعني apparently الدولة هون ما راح تقدر ترفع هذه الدعوة على مصرف لبنان بينت بالتحقيق الجنائي. So basically مين الجهة اللي برا اللي ممكن تاخذ هذا الرول؟ يعني مع مين معقول نحكي برا لأنه ينرفع دعوة على مصرف لبنان ورياض سلام بأنه انسرقوا أموال المودعين أو المصارف؟
So okay, so it depends. يعني نحن بلبنان ما في عندنا class action lawsuits. بس بأمريكا فيه وبأوروبا فيه. So نحن فينا نرفع دعاوي على البنوكي يلي هن عندهم assets برا، يعني عودة عنده assets مثلا بأوروبا، فينا نرفع عليه دعوة كأصحاب ودائع عنده، وخاصة من أشخاص maybe عايشين برا. أوكي. So هونيك الجاب اللي فينا نعملها بصراحة. Unfortunately بلبنان يعني مسكر القضاء علينا. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't try. We should try here and abroad. مصرف لبنان ما فينا نرفع عليه دعوة. مصرف لبنان أنتيتي حكومية لبنانية. بس what we can do, we can place more sanctions and political pressure on Lebanese politicians. يعني ما بيمنع شيء إنه نعمل وفد كرابطة مودعين، نحكي مع الحكومة الفرنسية، نحكي مع وزارة الخارجية الفرنسية، نطلع على الكابيتال بواشنطن دي سي with a real public position. نقول لهم هيك صار. This is what we want. يعني هيدا بيعني انه نحن نهدد الطبقه السياسيه بالسانكشن ونقول لهم ما في حل عندكم، نعمل proper negotiation team. سو هيدا بيعني انه مثلا كل مصرف بلبنان، كل رابطه لكل مصرف بدها تروح تبعت legal مساءله للمصرف اللبناني المخول الخ. So this means lots of legal work. I'm not a lawyer يعني اكيد الموقف الليجل بالضبط يعني اللجنه القانونيه فيها تتوسع بهالموضوع، بس هيدا اللي انا بسمع منهم يعني بهالموضوع. So what we need is basically not just what the law says, is how to use law as a political tool. This is the most important thing. To squeeze them till they cry, and then they have to settle on something. And this means lots of propaganda videos صراحة. يعني let's not kid ourselves. كل ال political blocks بلبنان they sabotaged the capital control law. So now if we're gonna مثلا نروح إذا طلعت إشاعة إنه لنقول ما بعرف مين مسؤول سياسي بعت المصاري لبرا, we cannot put them on send them to trial لأنه ما في قانون capital control. It's all informal control. يعني they might give a politician their money but they don't give it to you. What's there's no يعني استنسابية مطلقة. It's pure robbery. So they don't. We can't play the normal game of we go to the judge. Unfortunately we're not in the United States. We're in Lebanon, so we have to use all these pressures, and this requires basically to be politicized. So we need to come together to build a political front. That's the only way, I think, because we've tried everything. It's really hard. يعني بلبنان.
فؤاد يحيى, you had your hand up raised. بدك ترجع تسأل؟
ايه جاوب. لا لانه جاوب على السؤال. هاي كيفك نزار؟
هاي
لا بس انه جاوب علي باخر شيء حكاه يعني.
اوكي.
انه المشكله هي يعني البنك كان هو مثل سمسار يعني, بس حاليا اللي عمل سمسار للمافيا اللي هن البايدين اموال والسياسيين يعني. مزبوط
100% اكيد, لانه حتى مثلا احدى الشغلات اللي بدنا نفضحها هي انه there's conflict of interest. يعني اللبنانيين ما بيعرفوا انه كل البوليتيكال كلاس عندها بنوكي. يعني انه you look at every parliamentarian بمجلس اداره بنك, يعني مجلس اداره بنك وبده يجي يفلس البنك تبعه, it's impossible. They're not going to do it. So they're going to just feed off our deposits. It's simple for them, you know.
هلا مين اذا لا مين بدك تلحق ليرجع لك مصاري؟ يعني اذا انت ربحت قضيه ضد البنك في يرجع لك المصاري؟ معه مصاري رجعون؟
like هيدا سؤال مثلا interesting لانه لازم نعمل مثلا نحن لازم نعمل mapping للاسيتس للبنوك. This requires legal research. بدنا نعرف شو في عنده عوده. يعني نحن اذا هو مثلا انا عندي مثلا سيفنجز عم بقول عن بنك عوده، يعني بنك عوده انا السيفنجز بنك عوده انه لا بيع الاسيتس تبعك وعلوم افلاسك. You should have done it in 2016. Instead حملت الشعب اللبناني 30 مليار و40 مليار دولار. هودي 30 40 مليار من بدهم يجوا؟ بدهم يجوا literally from our tax money. اللبنانيين ما بيفهموا اقتصاد يعني basically. But it's like now with what's going on كل شيء اشتغلناه ل 15 سنه لقينا just take it and get away with it basically. So I agree with you انه what we need to do is expose them basically.
الترانزاكشنز اللي عملوها يعني معظم الاموال اللي فاتت لعندهم وظهرت في كثير عمليات هي منا ليجل فعليا.
هلا مثلا اتس ترو بس لما نقول ليجل شو يعني؟ ما في كابيتال كنترول لو. الليجل باي معنى يعني ما عملوا مثلا ترانسفير ضد التعميم.
الليجل انه كيف حول هذه المصاري على اساس شو؟ على اساس اشترى بضاعه، على اساس اشترى بيت. ما في يعني في تحويلات كبيره ما في لها مرجع.
لا بس هي اللي بس هلا عم بقول لك اياه هن كيف عاملين. This is the amazing part of the Lebanese system. هن the illegal thing is انه هن موقفين لنا الديبوزيتس تبعنا. باي بلد بالعالم هلا ما في بنك يعني اذا رحت عند قاضي لازم يحكم لك انه البنك يعطيك مصرياتك unless there's a capital control law. So هن عملوا العكس لانه هن they know they can control the judges. So هلا فيهم يطلعوا مصرياتهم لبرا لانه عادي عم بعمل ترانسفير من لبنان. I think انه without help from international community in the sense of the EU track their money مثلا in Switzerland, we cannot move forward without delegitimizing the whole political class صراحة. يعني ما هي المشكل. They're too big, they're so embedded in each other that we can't get we can't get somewhere without handling all the beasts together. يعني مثل اخطبوط كبير.
فينا مثل نفس طريقه اللي صارت مع باسيل. كلهم هن متورطين يعني مع الحزب في طريقه يعني يتقدم شكوى مع عمليات. يعني في معظم المشاريع اللي اخذينها بلبنان السياسيين هي تبيد اموال خارجيه يعني جايه من الحزب او غيره. ولا هذه شغله شوي خطيره.
لا بس هو انه معك حق. هو هيدا لازم يصير. لهالسبب عم بقول انه ما في حل الا هيدا المسار. والمسار هو من برا كمان. يعني هلا برا وجوا لانه كمان بدك تخلق المعارضه على الارض. وهن اساسا رح يموتوا قريبا. يعني معظم political classes is gonna die. I mean the big ones. So we need to be ready to يعني بس يتخلخل النظام نقدر نعمل خرق ولو بسيط. يعني لو حتى بالمجلس النيابي او بالقضاء او
ماشي.
يعني you're not talking about a country انه اللي عنده independent judiciary. هيدا مشكلتنا الاساسيه بالبلد. ما في independent judiciary وما في عندك نقابات. So كيف بدك تفرض pressure عليهم؟ ما في we don't have leverage. We don't have leverage from the law. We don't have leverage من الارض. So بدنا ناخذ هو اثنين نحن. It's obvious. That's why organizing on a ground level, taking the syndicates means we have more cards to squeeze them. لأنه ما تستهون النقابات. يعني نقابة المحامين بتهز يعني this is the issue because it cuts the identity politics in Lebanon. بيبطل فيهم يجوا يلعبوا identity politics هني. So this is how we're gonna get it back. Again, my perception is إنه if you have a deposit, just don't touch it for the time being, because this is what they're betting on. And we keep systemically organizing. وما حدا يعني انا بالنسبه لي to just lose faith or هن عم بيعتمدوا على هذا الشيء. So we just need to be very rigorous, meticulous, and strategic in a sense. We continue organizing. We build an institution that could actually negotiate on behalf of the depositors. That is a crucial element. يعني if you study most of the devaluations بالعالم والأفلاس, what makes it the difference is that the depositors had a negotiation position. You know, like they had a leverage. They're on the table. We need to get to the table. That's
Thank you, Nizar.
of course.
George Haji.
Hi, George Haj.
George Haj. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Hi. Hi, Nizar. Thank you for coming on. عندي few questions. هلا عم نحكي كنا عن مابينج البنوكي. يعني هلا انا مثلا حاط بالبي ال سي، انا قاعد بامريكا، هون to hire lawyer بده 30% upfront. اوكي. هلا how do I know انا مثلا انه how many people هون بامريكا مثلا قاعدين depositors وحاطين بذات البنك. هذا very it's very important، لانه اذا انا مثلا حاط بالبي ال سي وواحد ثاني حاط بعوده، I think the lawyers only they're gonna go and charge more. It's like, wait a minute, I gotta go through BLC and I gotta go through Audi and Saladar and so on. So how can we go and just like consolidate everything together to go and do just like one major class action suit? Another one, the gold هون حب Fort Knox, Kentucky. هلا أنا مثل ما سمعت I did a lot of research إنه نحن ما فينا نضقره. نحن ما فينيش أنا كشخص امريكاني اجي او اعمل لاسوت عليه، حتى لو مصريات احنا بلبنان. اتس نو واتس بيهايند ات، وشو الطريقه اللي قبل ما مجلس النواب يرجع يسلق المصريات ويصرفهم عليه ونطير نحن بدون 17 مليار دولار. ثيرد وان، انا صارت معي شغله انه انا بنتي بتتعلم هون بامريكا وانا قاعد هون. من يومين البي ال سي just to let you know what happened they denied يبعثوا لها لجماعتها الا انه اعطوني one reason، الا انه انا resident وهي resident بامريكا. so it's a no I'm not allowed to get $10,000 for. بس لاعطيك انه شوف شو عم يعملوا البنوك تحت. يعني they're trying to find a way to just not to pay anything. يعني انت resident عم تنتج هون، روح بلط البحر، هيك قالوا لي بالعالم المشبرح. So those are my questions.
Yeah, I mean, enough. I think to be frank, we've pursued a lot. Legal organization has been on local level, so that we got it covered. بس على مستوى برا, we need serious work, and this is why I'm saying إنه we need a legal committee مثلا تكون تشتغل مع legal committee هون بس من محامين لبنانيين. حط يعني I know personally few Lebanese lawyers in the States. Who
international?
Sorry?
Or domestically? Did they work internationally or domestically?
I mean, I don't know, but what I'm saying is we must find that portfolio. This is part of the task probably. So we need to organize this. I'm sure I know that Hadi personally was already dealing with this file. One of the members here, and he was talking to lawyers in the States and Europe. But we need more work on this. I unfortunately don't have a kind of an answer for you. The bastards. I mean, they have good legal. It's a Ponzi scheme that is well done. I mean, that's what we. And it's partly protected by the parliament here. So it goes back to the parliament here. The second thing about your daughter, I mean, I would like to ask you to actually send a message to the legal department, to the hotline. And maybe a lawyer could follow it from here or give you a legal advice. Because بلبنان نجحنا نحن كتير بتحرير ودائع للطلاب. It worked.
المصرف لبنان بدات عن حسب مصرف لبنان عمل هيدي للبنانيه اللي قاعدين بلبنان واولادهم قاعدين عم بيتعلموا برا بس نون ريزيدنت. انت قالوا لي انت بنتك سلقانه هون وانت كمان مع الجنسيه هون وي كانوا
بس هيدا تعليم
قلت لهم يا عمي ما انا لبناني، ما انا معي انا لبناني ومعي شيء وبنتي لبنانيه يعني وشو هالبيج ديفرنس يعني انه قالوا لي نو ذاتس يعني ما فيني احاربهم بيعطوني مثل ما ديك مره قلت انت ديك الساعه انه بيعطوك تشيك بونكر بقول لك مثلا روح تطلع من البنك وبعدين شو بعمل؟
but this is not possible كمان يعني we can follow through this. You know, I'm gonna file a lawsuit this year personally, so I'll let everybody know what's gonna happen with that. But no, I don't think they can do it. لأنه وين بدك تقبضوا للشيك بنكير؟ Yeah.
It's you know we are in a situation. هلا انا هون وبالنسبه للذهب مثلا اوكي انه طيب اذا الذهبيات حنيه هون ليش نحن we cannot go after that؟ وباي ذا واي انا حكيت مع السفاره الامريكانيه كمان بشو اسمه، حكيت مع الكونغرس هون بعثوا كمان للسفاره الامريكانيه. السفاره الامريكانيه قالت this is it's all Lebanese government we cannot يعني انا I'm trying to just like knock every door to get my money out of that. وكمان ما قدروا يساعدوني يعني لكون كمان you know I'm going beyond so مش هتظبط.
Yeah, بس أنا بنظري the issue is we might not get them now, but the question is that's what I'm saying is basically a bit more strategic in the sense we need to enforce a political solution for this financial crisis that is at least fair, يعني transparent. And you know what? We lost chances. بس كون جاي Macron, we're not organized enough. So the question is, there's going to be another chance coming. We need to be able to use it. You see what I'm saying? This is the question is not just about, you know, the Lebanese, they love to do it, you know, individually because we really have this culture. We can't work together. We just we play solo, you know. We get it done because نحن شاطرين وبنعرف إنه وهيدا كله إجا all of a sudden just came back at us. And all of a sudden, if we're going to find a solution, we have to actually sit. This is what happens in financial crisis. You basically, the government sits with the banks and sits with the people and say, okay, what's going to happen? We're going to have a 30% haircut, okay, on these deposits. And that's the solution, you know, and then we're going to build the economy. The issue is for me is that, you know, I can take a hit of 25%. I'm fine with 25%.
I'll take it too. I'm fine with 30%. Said that.
Yeah, 30%. Okay, take 30%, but I know I can use my money tomorrow. There's time value for me. And that is the problem هلا هن انه بدكم تاخذوا كل شيء رح ياخذوا كل شيء يعني they're telling us take a 70% hit. This is what they're saying.
That's too much. That's too much.
That's too much. Unacceptable. This is unacceptable to be yeah, it's unacceptable. I mean in Cyprus they made it 50% I think. بس انه بدك كمان حدا سياسي بلبنان يعني ما معقول كمان انه اللبنانيه اخذين الشغله كانه السياسيين ما لهم خصه. اخي كيف ما لكم خصه؟ you know this is the problem. اللي خلي السياسيين البلوكس السياسيه مش بس شغلتكم تحكوا انتم عن كمان الفورن بوليسي وما بعرف شو بيحكوا عن حقوق الطوائف يعني اوكي حقوق الطوائف بس بالاخر انه what is your position regarding the financial crisis? How are you going to protect my interest? Yeah. They're not doing it because we're not pushing them to do it. You know, this is the problem for me. Is we need to just kind of make it hard for them. Next time they go to the States, throw eggs at them and make them like, you know, suffer really big times and block them in the Capitol Hill. Like just go to really lobby the Congress in America to shut down this gang of oligarchs.
We're planning on it. We're working on على الفصل السابع احنا هون. بس طبعا هلا احنا عندنا شو اسمه موف اوف جارد يعني تشينج اوف جارد اكشلي يعني بعد جمعتين بيجي بايدن وبيفل ترامب. بس يعني نحن هلا وهيدي بدها تاخذ كمان شهور ليبلش لتمشي كل شيء يعني نحن هلا مش على بكره مثلا بايدن ما فيش مش هي اول فالح يشيل على الوزارات بلبنان. نو وي هاف كياس هير وعندك كورونا وكذا وهيك. But one more thing, how can you know إنه إذا بنك عنده assets بأوروبا أو بأمريكا? How can I find out?
I have no, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a legal person, but this is a good question. I can refer to the legal department and we can work together. I mean, I would like if people here are interested in kind of continuing and working with us, we would love to have you.
You have my email.
Yes.
بس هي الشغله اللي شو اسمه بامريكا استبراد هيوج، يعني ما بتعرف مثلا، وخاصه هون اللبنانيه كمان بدك تعرف تاخذ into consideration انه في ناس مش معبيين فتكه. يعني هلا انا من العالم المعبيين فتكه، يعني I don't care، بس في كثير ناس حاطين تحت وبعرف شو people يمكن كمان ومش معبيين، يعني بيفزعوا كمان مع قلتك it's a lot of
yes.
يعني اكيد بتعرف
tax evasion.
Yeah, you know, I mean اذا مش محطط حاجه فتكه وهيدا انه that's fraud there by itself، بقول لك سيدي برا. بس الجولد ليش ما فيناش نحن go after it؟ كمان اذا في حدا محامي على البلاتفورم right now can he answer me that one؟ انه ليش انا كان فينيش حط هلا محامي وحط هولد على الجولد؟
No, because what like you can't because it's a Lebanese government. يعني Lebanese government بتدفع liabilities عليها للبنوك.
يعني بالنهايه مجلس النواب بيسرقها كمان.
مش مع Lebanese government، انت مشكلتك مع البنوك. It's like you know it's البنوك you know might be but they can't even Lebanese يعني banks. This is like الذهب بلبنان له قانون خاص، يعني this is the sovereignty of the state. ما فيهم حتى الدولة إذا بدها تسيله وتبيعه ما بده يجتمع البرلمان كله ليوافق على يبيعوا الذهب. الذهب is like considered يعني شيء سيادي sovereignty. So ما فينا نمسك الذهبات بهذا الإطار، لأنه الذهبات anyway it's not owned by the politicians, it's owned by the Lebanese people. هيدا كمان شغلة نحن we can't also نطلع مصرياتنا ندمر لبنان. يعني في this is why the depositors we're يعني which is the whole Lebanese, it's about recreating a social contract.
ايه بس ما هن دمرونا. يعني انا كمقترض بعد بحط 1 penny بلبنان forget ان شاء الله عمرك يعطوني مصرياتي I will never put 1 penny I won't even trust anyone anymore. يعني احنا دمرنا already اللي قاعدين الاغتراب برا، ونحن اللي بيتكلوا علينا نحن بنحط 7 8 مليون دولار every year on a yearly basis. Then they're gonna get zero at the end يعني، او maybe like 1 مليار. مين بقى بده يحط؟
معك حق. Because it's market but this is the market correction. But this is the market correction. You used to put your money because we give you like interest rate, and all of a sudden we can't do this anymore because obviously we have a triple crisis: sovereign debt crisis, devaluation of the lira. So now the question that the Lebanese have to answer, the political class have to answer, and us as well, is how to grow the Lebanese economy. This is the biggest issue. Because if we know that we can grow the Lebanese economy in the next 5 years, the wheel can, you know, I mean, and if you study economy, you know that the wheel starts turning, so you can then move money back. But the problem is we cannot grow our economy because كمان لأنه ما بقى في معنا احتياطي كفاية to actually work on developing some damn industry. يعني كمان depositors, okay, we can sell the whole state and give you your deposits. Then what? Then we're gonna stop. We're gonna die. So part of the ihtiyati needs to be basically go back to the economy to build some form of an infrastructure, some form of an economy to get the wheel turning again. So بدك vision على مستوى سياسي. هذا unfortunately, you know, it's not just about screwing, like it's not just about the banks. هي الأزمة بهيك مستوى. All the people are on the table. يعني there's a whole social discussion مثل ما صار باليونان. يا خي شو بدنا نعمل؟ and unfortunately اللي عم بيصير هو انه ما في حكي بالسياسي بلبنان بهالموضوع نهائيا. البلوكس البنوك بيجتمعوا مع بعض بيشربوا كاس. They divide the issues to screw us. That's the reality. انه كمان يضلوا 1% 0.8%. This is the reality. And
نزار لانه كمان most of the politicians they own the banks too. Let's face it. ما هن اثنينهم سوا. يعني he owns 30%. the other one مثلا شو اسمه فرانسوا بيسيل owns 51% والسحناوي he owns 20%. بس ما هو نايب. يعني I'm giving you an example يعني هيك. اوكي وبعدين
جورج
go ahead. I'm sorry.
جورج بدي افتح مجال لغيرك بس.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, no, خلص block me, don't worry about it. Thank you Nizar, thank
لا
you
لا
for
مش
your
بلوك يو لا مش
لا مش block me
بس
يعني خلص put me on mute, don't worry about me.
ايه هلا بس خلينا اعطي مجال لغيرك وبرجع لك.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Hind,
Thanks.
go ahead.
Okay, George, you will get another turn. Don't worry. This is an open conversation. Well, regarding what you just said, Nizar, it falls perfectly well under the white collar crimes, which is covered by the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. So if you are going to pursue international justice towards this crime, you have to start looking under those types of acts. I'm not a lawyer, but by research, we were looking into international law, how we can cover those crimes, and they are going under white collar crimes. My question is, now it's been rumored, or it's circulating, that the banks that are asking the small depositors to turn their deposits into stocks in the bank. And my brain think this is another colossal scheme trying to rob the depositors from what is left from their money. So what do you have to say about that?
No, of course. I mean, now if you turn your deposits into stocks, I mean, already the bank is bankrupt. I mean, we know the banking sector is bankrupt in Lebanon. So it's basically you're like transferring your deposits, which are basically the bank is liable. They need to give you back your investment, which is your deposit. Now they're giving you a liability, which is a share in a basically bankrupt institution. So of course not. This is, you know, we had many cases of like really old grandmothers. They made them sign these papers here to transfer it into shares. It's really heartbreaking to see that. Yeah. So no, definitely not. This is why for me, you know, I'm not touching my deposits, for example. They know they give you here the possibility of doing it 3,900, 50%. I'm not touching it because I'm not going to give them that. They have like a contractual obligation according to قانون النقد والتسليف to give me my deposit back with the same, you know, value.
بس اذا اتكسر البنك، اذا افلس البنك بيروح المصاري.
Yeah, but then we go to basically like نبيعه للبنك. We sell its assets and we divide it. And so this is why I'm saying the question is, yeah, that's why, I mean, don't transfer it to shares, but also don't take your money at a discounted rate. Now, if we get to the chance that there's a bankruptcy, generally what happens is that the central bank guarantees your deposit. So we need to enforce that. You know, we need to
but the bulk of the money will go to the people with the highest share, which is the 1% who in the country who own the money, who have big.
No. It's the opposite. If they bankrupt, if it's bankrupt, it's the opposite.
Okay.
It's the small, like the small depositors will get bailed more than the high net worth individuals. This is why they don't want to do bankruptcy. I mean, this is why they're doing this informal, these informal haircuts, because now they're transferring the liability to the small depositors. So the 1% is just like they're not touching the money. And in 5-6 years, all the poor people and the middle class have taken their money out with a discounted price, and they make a deal with each other. I mean, to give you an example, my car was gone with the explosion. I had to buy another one. They wanted to take a chèque bancaire like at 2.9%, times 2.9, like meaning like every $1,000 of cash is now $3,000 in check. And I'm like, so basically you're gonna collect all of this from the market, then the company goes to the bank and probably they buy it or something. I mean, who knows? So we're speaking about a whole like you know, it's all the money is being concentrated even with smaller and smaller people. this is going to break. This cannot continue. So عض على الأصابع, basically. They're going to keep doing this
و-
till they fix their balance sheet.
طب بخصوص في ناس هتشتري البروبرتيز من ناس اوريدي عندها دين للبنك.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
آه.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, this is basically how. Yeah, I mean, you settle your loan, for example, and you sell an asset. The other guy takes an asset. That's better than nothing. I mean, yeah, that's a good deal, I think.
Okay.
I mean, but like just to give you also now that we have the deposits issue, also the assets in Lebanon are going down. So he also the financial crisis, the real estate sector was linked to the financial system. So it was overvalued in Lebanon. And if you look, for example, difference between Istanbul and Jordan, Amman, and Beirut. Why is an apartment in Beirut so much more expensive than Istanbul or Amman? I mean, partly because there's flow of money here. Okay, like the market is different as well, but not
هي
that
مشكلة
much.
مشكلة
Not that
من
much.
المغتربين يلي المغتربين يلي هن علوا الماركت بلبنان بيستثمروا بحطوا مصاري ما في عليهم تاكسز بيبعتوهم من اوروبا وكذا بحطوهم بالريل استيت او بالبنك بيغلوا الحياة المعيشية كلها على اللبنانيين اللي عايشين بلبنان. يعني هن كمان مودعين من برا كانوا مشكلة على لبنان.
Yeah, no, true. True in a sense, and also we didn't use the money in a good way. And instead of this money being used to actually, Coupe Oriental. Somebody was telling me in Paris, like Coupe Oriental in the 50s was considered luxury in Paris, which means we did used to do coats that were being sold in Paris, which is like a faro. I mean, like we had industries. So also, this is the biggest issue, that the political class, which are a bunch of oligarchs and monopolies, they don't want to open also the economic system, because a productive system means that would overthrow the nature of the Lebanese society in a sense. This whole rent-seeking behavior of elites will be destroyed. So all of a sudden, the people who rule the Lebanese parliament maybe will be actually industrialists rather than bankers and oligarchs who just funnel money and do these shady deals. We become a better country, a normal country, a more productive one. We can use all this power of the Lebanese diaspora to actually create something, a productive economy, do a real industry. And this is the real challenge, to use this financial crisis to actually do that in Greece. I mean, this is basically the financial crisis cleaned the whole oligarchy. It's a market correction. You reset the fundamentals of the economy on a better level, on a better in a more solid base. Yeah.
عندي اكزامبل من حوالي مثلا 10 مودعين بعرفهم خسروا مصرياتهم بالبنك من 10 سنين ولا مرة فكروا يعملوا أي مشروع منتج بلبنان. Just think about الفايدة أو so كمان مش مشكلة بس من الدولة، يعني مشكلة من المنتاليتي الموجودة.
Yeah, but المشكلة من الدولة إنه خلت هيدي السياسة، يعني هاي السياسة أفلست بال 2016. So they could have just said that at that time, but they really still مثل واحد عم يلعب بوكر يعني. They still made all the financial engineering and that increased the debt by like more than 40%. يعني come on, I mean in few years we spent billions. And also it's not just the diaspora, it's also the big bankers from probably like Europe or the state who invested here, who invested in the public debt. This is a lot of money, and this is criminal. This is why they have to go to jail. I mean, they have to go to jail. Any normal country, this is what's going to happen. I mean, something has to go. I mean, seriously. And I think the political class here is betting on now, like they're not that smart. They're in a sense they don't have a real plan. Their plan is contingency all the time. So هلا عم يستخدموا lockdown. They make a little war between, I don't know, on identity politics, something like that, and they keep running forward. My only hope is that that at least now nobody is going to feed the beast anymore. Europeans are not investing, the Gulf is not, and the Americans are not. So now we have to deal with our stuff, with our real problems. So, you know, Anna, for me, if I'm going to lose my deposit, at least let's lose it, you know, to create a better Lebanon, instead of just keeping the same old Ponzi scheme. So, yeah.
Amir?
اوكي نزار، هلا نحن وي نو انه eventually المصارف رح تفلس. يعني في كثير ناس هلا عم تسحب مصريات تشيك بونكير، في كثير ناس عم تروح تدفعهم بعقارات، فانه بيسكلي اخر شيء رح تفلس هيدي المصارف. شو هي هالايفنت اللي رح تخليهم يعلنوا افلاسهم؟ يعني ما فيش تصور واضح انه كيف رح يعلنوا افلاسهم هودي الجماعين. لا يعني من وين بده يطلع القرار من الدولة انه خلص هول المصارف ما عادش معهم مصاري، المصارف ما راح يعترفوا، جمعية المصارف ما راح تعمل هيدا الشيء، مصرف لبنان ما راح يقول، فانه وين راح يصير هيدا البيج اكسبلوجن اللي يقول انه هول المصارف فلست؟
انه انا I think انه نحن already like in reality مفلسين المصارف basically. What they're doing now is the opposite, is like يعني نحن هن المصارف مفلسين. That's their status even internationally. You can't send money to Lebanon. It's over. So I think what's going to happen is the opposite. They're going to keep wiggling and taking out liabilities to the extent that they can, you know, move the system back again, kickstart it again. But meantime, يعني مثل ما كان في Ponzi scheme اللي كان basically giving you lots of interest rate، هلا الopposite. هلا الopposite رح ينعمل. يعني بتعرف كيف الحريري بالاول عمل I think interest rates were 39% to get money into the country. Now it's the opposite.
على treasury bond.
Yeah, the haircut now is the opposite. It's going to be high, and it's going to maybe be slower with time, but it's going to take 10 years, 12 years. This is what they're doing basically, you know. So it's now it's the reverse of the you know, the Ponzi scheme. It's the Ponzi scheme and the reverse Ponzi scheme basically. So now they're going to keep running the liabilities. So if you need the money, you're going to just say screw it, you know, I'm going to 100,000 بخدهم 30,000 cash. Right now, that's $70,000 wiped from the balance sheet of the liability of the bank. So they're actually, the banks are in a better financial position probably than the beginning of the crisis. But meanwhile, they're wiping all the savings of the Lebanese. That's why and I'm saying what's happening is criminal in the sense that we can't let them get away with it. خاصة يعني أنا مثلا I got some information from a banker. I'm still waiting, honestly. I'm not gonna say who, but إنه يعني she has مثلا عندها documents of parliamentarians who basically took money out of the country in the past 5 months. So basically what's gonna happen is the big tycoons, the 1%, they're gonna took their money out. بيفلسوا المصارف. Basically what's happening now, they destroy our savings, they come back to the country, they wipe it, they buy it, they buy all the assets. Full concentration of wealth, and literally wealth transfer from the middle class to the 1%. يعني we're witnessing literally يعني it's going to get, the inequality in Lebanon is going to be more severe. It's already one of the most unequal countries in the world. It's going to be even worse. Concentration of wealth among like 4 or 5 families, basically. We need to fight that. There's no other way. And fighting that is by exposing what's going on. It's economic literacy for me, and pushing the organization forward politically.
يعني مش عم ببين في بصيص امل يعني. بس انه we keep fighting, I guess.
I mean, we should, yeah. I mean, there is a
مشوار
possibility.
طويل.
I'll tell you, there's a possibility. إنه مثلاً بيجيبوا بيصير في حل سياسي وبيجيبوا النفط مثلاً. That is a possibility. ساعتها بيكون فات كم مليار على البلد بيعملوا some kind of deal وبيمشي الحال. You know, that's what they're betting on, and this is a possibility. And maybe there's a political solution مثلاً with سلام مع إسرائيل, whatever. I mean, it's something like that. Some kind of settlement. And that would be on the table. We get some kind of, package.
But the fear.
But in any case, and I think we need to organize because whatever the package that's going to come, and it's going to come, we need to maximize our profit. يعني. Instead of having a 50, يعني هلا إذا كنا بالأول عم نقول 50% is a lot. Now there's 70% in the market rate. So imagine if a package comes, they're going to say to us, we'll give you 60% of your maximum and we'll take it because we know we don't have any other choice. So by organizing, we maximize our position. That's the only thing we can do. Because يعني الخسارة واقعة. It's done. We know this in every financial crisis. Somebody has to pay the bill. يعني خلص خلصت السكرة واجت الفكرة. So we need to pay the price. The question is how much we pay. That's the only thing. We're actually, the whole argument between the Lebanese classes, let's say, social classes, is how much we're going to pay out of that. And from my perspective, let them pay. يعني الرؤساء البنوكي, are you kidding me? You're not going to pay anything? This is preposterous. يعني. بس هيك. بس إنه أنا I think إنه we're going to pay something. And to be very frank, this is what happens. We're going to pay 20%, 30%.
نزار سؤال معقول انه يكون الشعب يرجع ياخد من اصول الدولة يستملك يعني نعمل هيدا اللينك بين المصارف ومصرف لبنان واستدانته من الدولة ويرجع الشعب يستملك اسهم بكازينو لبنان وبموارد الدولة لانه يكون هو يعني رح تبين شوي شيوعي بس انه is it possible انه نوصل لهيدي المرحلة لانه الشعب يستلم شوي من اصول الدولة مقابل نهب الاموال تبعه بالمصارف؟
I mean هن اللي بيعملوه اللي هن بيبيعوا هلا بس قلت يستملكوا كيف يعني يستملكوا بأمر يعني بوضع اليد
انه ياخذوا شيرز من اصول الدولة لانه الدولة هي اللي اخذت مصرف لبنان والمصرف لبنان تدين من البنوك.
اوكي بس let's face it نحن هيدا مش completely صحيح. يعني البانكس benefited a lot مثل ما فرجيتك. All of our tax money for years has been going to the banks. To servicing the debt that is unsustainable. So actually what needs to happen is إنه العكس هو البنوكي لازم يخسروا. إذا بتطلع على البالانس شيتس للبانكس يعني بيربحوا من 1990 مليارات كل سنة. One of the most lucrative banking sector in the world يعني. So إذا
basically our battle هي مع البانكس واللي هن البوليتيكال كلاس هي الشير هولدرز بقلب البانك. So this is the battle. This is basically
إنه basically هي conflict of interest يعني هن البنوكي راحوا باعوا تخيل اشتروا الدين من البوليتيكال كلاس يعني مثلا كيف وليد جنبلاط وبري وما بعرف مين كلهم يعني كيف بدهم يصرفوا مصاري دينوا من البنوكي لانه ما في دينوا من البنوكي واعطوهم هاي انترست ريت رجعوا اخذوا المصاري ما بنوا فيهم الاقتصاد راحوا وزعوهم to basically sustain their political clout through rent يعني دفعوهم للناس او of course يعني اخذوا فيها مشاريع فساد يعني عملوا جسر ما بنوه او دفعوا على الكهرباء 2 مليار دولار بالسنه 2 مليار ضرب 30 سنه هودي 60 مليار يعني this is where our money went so هاو اخذوهم so هلا بدهم يجوا الحل اللي عم يطرحوه انه خلينا نبيع الدوله طيب بنبيع الدوله بننقذ مين بننقذ البنوكي كرمال شو كرمال ما already 50% of the value of the deposits is owned by like 24,000 people which are actually the politicians so من كل هالخبريه شو عم بيطلع لنا نحن ما بيطلع لنا شيء بيطلع لنا جزء صغير يعني a quarter لا انه نحن we need to be fighting to actually get that like a proper forensic audit to know who got what in the past 30 years and to actually يعني hold them liable for their theft for the past 30 years انه خي انت طلعت مليارات ومخبيهم بسويسرا، لا انت ادفع 50% من ثروتك. يعني ما راح يفقروا. هن they're still fine. they got so much profit out of us. So انا بالنسبه لي الموقف السياسي اللي هو انه خلي الدوله تبيع الذهب وتبيع الاسيتس تبعها، المشكله هي انه حتى لو عملوا هيك ما راح يكفي. يعني بيكونوا they're still robbing us more even. وكمان let's face it، نحن هلا بلبنان اذا بتاخذ 30% haircut على الماني تبعك بيطلع لك اياهم كاش. This cash is actually in economic sense equals more، لانه البلد رجع بلد طبيعي، صرنا بلد مثل تونس. نحن $100 بتعيش عائله لشهر. صارت يعني معاش الاستاذ صار $100 $150. صرنا مثلنا مثل تونس، مثل المغرب، مثل so what I'm saying بالfundamentals of the economy then it works. So they just need to pay more. هيدا هو الموقف لازم يكون، انه لا خلينا نعمل haircut على ال 1%، يدفعوا 50% من ثروتهم هودي ال 24,000. that already like بتريح البنوك. يعني البالانس شيت عم تاخذوها منا على الانفورمال haircut، لا خذوها من ال 1%. let's make it clear. يعني let's make a political plan. كم شو هن الديبوزيتس يعني هن عم بيحاولوا يقنعونا انه نحن depositors انه كلنا واحد. مش كلنا واحد، في 99% بنملك نص الديبوزيتس وفي 1% بيملكوا النص الثاني. هودي النص الثاني مين هن؟ ما نعرف مين هن. هاو هن اللي بيملكوا البلد. So هن they're trying to actually keep this money, keep the 50%. No, cut your 50%. So instead of adding to inequality, we need the country needs to be more equal, meaning we transfer 50% of the value, like 50% من هودي ال 1% يعني, which means this would cover literally the other 99%. يعني إذا بفرجيكم screen, you know, like يعني هي الحل بده يكون sorry. هون يعني إذا شلنا وقصينا من 1% 50, ما هن they own 51%. يعني $85 مليار. خي لا انت ملياردير قاعد بلبنان صار لك 30 سنه عم تقبض what the hell يعني 15% على الدولار, while if you invested in the international markets 1%. Take a 50% hit, that already covers how many? It covers like all these like مودعين صغار يلي معهم up to اللي هن معهم $3,000 مثلا واللي معهم 100,000 already covers by that this whole section. You don't have to cut them, you know, anymore. So they're trying to say and we're not one depositors. This is why it's crucial احنا depository احنا اصحاب الودائع الصغيره والمتوسطه. If you have more than $1 million in the bank, you're part of the wealthy elite that basically took advantage of this monetary system. You're gonna pay more than us. It has to be a gradual haircut. بس هون انه okay they can pay something, بس انه مش 70%. There's now a transfer of wealth going on from these people to these. Unacceptable يعني on a level of وبيصيروا يعطونا حلول انه الدوله بتبيع الاسيتس تبعها وبيبيعوا الكوميونيكيشن سيكتور. اوكي بيعوا الكوميونيكيشن سيكتور anyway it should be يعني privatized. ما عندي مشكل فيها. I'm not a you know populist. بس where is this money gonna go? Is gonna bail these people? And you're gonna act that the 1% is equal to the guy who has $3,000 in the bank account? No, you pay like 40%, like the Merrill Lynch report is saying. You're gonna pay 50% or 45% of your of the value of your assets in the banks, and then the rest pay less. They pay 20%. 20% is fine. You have $100,000, you get it 80,000. There's a market correction in Lebanon. The $80,000 already are their value is higher because the country economy has changed. It works. But this requires people with شوية ضمير. يعني whoever rules the state يكون عنده شوية ضمير. مش كتير ضمير.
يعني على امل انه تصحى فيهم الشهامه او الضمير. بس I'm gonna leave. We're approaching 4 o'clock Eastern time. George Haj, I'm gonna give you just 2 minutes to wrap up, and then I'll do my part to wrap up, and then
no. I want to thank you. That's it. I'm done. I كان عندي few questions بس بهلا هالطروحات كلها. عندي one more question. إذا واحد نفسه بقوله إنه أوكي، إذا أنا سمعت إنه up to 100,000 معقول يعطون المصريات. طيب إذا واحد حاط مثلا 110,000 what happens؟ بينضم أو بيعطون 100,000 وبياخذوا ال 10,000؟
بتاخذ هيركت على 10,000. ال 100,000
بس على 10. exempt. بتكون exempt. Okay, that's all. But thank you very much. No, I'm fine with everything. I really appreciate everything you said. Thank you.
Perfect. Nizar, first, thank you for your time. يعطيك العافية. يعني we extend a helping hand again. If there's anything we can do to facilitate what the Rabta is doing, نحن جاهزين we're جاهزين نكون يعني جنود كرمال نواكبكم.
Perfect. Let's keep in touch. It was a very nice discussion. Thank you for organizing this.
Definitely. Hind, any closing comments تحب تقولي؟
Yes, sure. On behalf of لحقي North America and مغتربين المجتمعين, we want to thank our guest speaker, Nizar. Thank you for such an informative session. Thank you, participants, for joining us this session. And also, I want to announce that next week our session is going to be with Karl Abi Malham, who ran for the parliament in 2018. He's going to share with us his personal journey and also some insights on the elections. And as much as the economic topic is a hot topic and it's highly needed for the Lebanese in diaspora to be informed about, but elections are going to come soon, and we're going to have to play an essential role as Lebanese patriots. So I will encourage you to join those seminars as well, and to be more informed on our role to invest our vote in the right place to benefit our country and the generations to come. So that's our next session next week, same time with Karl Abi Malham. And also coming, we don't have the dates yet, but we're working on setting 2 panels, one that is going to address a new social contract and the possibility of moving forward to a new form of state. And a panel that's going to address economy as well, but from 3 different approaches, which is going to wrap up the different seminars webinars that we hosted. Each has addressed the crisis, the economic crisis, from a different point of view, and we're looking forward to put the panel together so they are debated by our audience. Thank you for attending again, Zahi.
Nope. Thank you very much. ونشوفكم جماعة الجان الله راد.
Thank you,
guys. Thank you again, Nizar.
يلا يعطيكم العافية.
God bless everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.